On September 13th, 1985, Super Mario Bros. Was released into an oversaturated market of poorly made video games, rushing out games whether they're completed or not, just to keep up with the growing demands of the industry. Sound familiar? During this time, Super Mario Bros. Almost single-handedly brought back the gaming industry from the dead, showing the world that video games were not the problem, but bad business practices were. Super Mario Bros. Jump-started a massive franchise with sequels, spin-offs, growing into a multimedia phenomenon, all from just this one game made decades ago. But the real question is, with such a highly praised and beloved game doing so much for the industry, does it still hold up? That's what we're going to explore today. Now, if you've been living under a rock for your whole life, the basic lore of the Mario games is very simple. You play as Mario, platforming your way through 4 different levels of 8 different worlds, the last stage of each being Bowser's Castle, until you find and rescue Princess Peach. So that's the basic premise of Mario. But what is it actually like playing the game? Well, when you first load up the game, one of the first things you notice is the graphics. Now, since Super Mario Bros. Came out on Nintendo's first system almost 40 years ago, you can immediately tell that the graphics look a little old. And while that might be a turnoff for some people, I personally think the graphics aren't that bad and still kind of hold up to this day. The first option you have for the game is whether you want to play this game solo or with a friend. Choosing either option doesn't change the game at all. All it does is allow a second player to join you in your adventure. The second player plays as Luigi, and if the first person dies or finishes the level, then it switches off to the second person, and vice versa. Now, like I said before, you go through a total of 4 different stages throughout 8 different worlds, and for the most part, the layout of each stage is the same. You start off in the overworld, then you either go to an underground, underwater, or another overworld. Then you go to what they call an athlete level, which is basically just jumping on top of trees or in the sky. And finally, you end at Bowser's Castle. Now, even though most of the visuals of the game are the same, Nintendo does a great job making each level feel different and unique. As you progress through the levels, there are tons of different enemies blocking your way, from Goombas to Koopas to Hammer Bros. Thankfully, you're able to get around all of them by simply jumping over or on them. What about the enemies you can jump on? Well, just as there is enemies to stop Mario, there are also power-ups that Mario can find throughout the level that will help him get around these enemies. All the different power-ups can be found inside question blocks. These different power-ups are Mushroom, Fire Flower, and Superstar. The Mushroom allows Mario to take 1 damage without dying. The Fire Flower allows you to throw fireballs at the enemies, knocking them out. And the Superstar makes you invincible for a limited amount of time, causing you to run super fast and take out enemies just as fast. Now, that's great and all, but how does the game actually play? And to be honest, I was really surprised on how well the game still played. After playing Mario Maker for the past few years, I thought that Super Mario Bros. Actually plays better than all the newer 2D Mario games. Moving around feels so nice and smooth, no sliding around like you're on ice, and the momentum mechanic works very well. The game itself is even very rewarding for anyone who's looking to speedrun the game. And although the game itself is not very long, in a world where game companies these days want you to spend your entire life playing their games, it's nice to be able to play the game for an hour and still have time to be able to do anything else you want. Another interesting feature about this game is the warp pipes. And no, I'm not talking about the warp pipes that Mario goes down to the underground in. Now, no one knows for sure, but it's heavily speculated as a way of testing the game. The game developers hid in World 1-2 as well as 4-2, a way to skip around to all the different worlds. In 1-2, you can skip to Worlds 2, 3, or 4. In World 4-2, there's actually 2 different spots on which you can warp. In one point, you can warp to World 5, and at the other point, you can warp to World 6, 7, or 8. Now, even though this wasn't the way that the developers intended you to play the game, it's still a really cool secret. And if you get a game over, it's also a nice way to get back to where you were really fast. So in the end, does Super Mario Bros. Still hold up? As someone who hasn't grown up with this game and only has the experience of the newer Mario game series, yes, Super Mario Bros. Still holds up to this day. If anything, I think it holds up even better than almost all the new Mario games. It is truly one of the greatest, if not the greatest Mario game that has ever been made. I highly recommend it to anyone who's never played a Mario game, to anyone who has been interested in trying the original Mario but hasn't yet, or to anyone who just hasn't played it in a very long time. I promise you, you will not regret playing this game. But that's just my opinion. If you disagree with me, let me know down in the comments. Alright guys, that's it for me today. Thank you for joining me. I hope you had fun, and I will catch you guys in the next one.